Morning Year 7s, we're going to spend today collecting some data, doing an experiment ready for next week when we're going to practice drawing some graphs. So the first bit of experiment we're going to do today is going to be a bouncing ball experiment. So what you need at home is a ball that bounces. I've got a bouncy ball here. You could use a tennis ball or a golf ball or a basketball or football, something that bounces, preferably quite small like this. And you'll also need a tape measure. You can use your ruler, but ideally if you use your ruler you're going to have to be able to get more than your 30 centimetres ruler, okay? So ideally a tape measure if you've got one somewhere in the house. In your book, I would like you to write today's date, the 24th of September, and your title and underline it. The question we're going to be asking is, if I drop a ball from a greater height, will it increase the number of bounces that ball will do? So I've written the question out there. If I drop a ball from a greater height, will it increase the number of bounces that ball will do? So my hypothesis is something that I'm going to either prove or disprove. So it's a statement. A ball will bounce more times if it is dropped from increasing heights or from greater heights. So now your book should look like this. You've got a question and you've got a hypothesis. Our next step is think about our apparatus. I've already told you what you're going to use, so we're going to write that down next. A tape measure and a bouncy ball. Now we're going to talk about something that we might not have mentioned before in primary school, which is the word variables. In any experiment, there is always one thing that you change, one thing that you measure, and everything else that stays the same. So the one thing that I change is my independent variable. In this case, my independent variable will be the height from which I drop the bouncy ball. Our next variable is the dependent variable. That's the thing that we are going to measure. And in this experiment, we're going to measure how many bounces the ball does. Our final variable is the control variable. So have a think, what things might we make stay the same in this experiment? You must make sure that you always use the same bouncy ball. It's no good changing the bouncy ball halfway through. It's also no good if you start your experiment on concrete or tiles and you finish your experiment on carpet. You must make sure the flooring stays the same. So those will be our control variables. I'm going to write those down now, so you can write them down too. Next we come to our method. This is a stepwise description of how we're going to do the experiment. So I'm going to write down, hold the ball 10 centimetres above the ground, drop the ball, count how many bounces the ball does. Hold the ball 20 centimetres above the ground, drop the ball, count how many bounces the ball does. Repeat at 30 centimetres, 40 centimetres, and every 10 centimetres up to 1 metre height.